Hello everybody, and welcome back to another World of Tanks video. Today we are looking at a replay by Korsakoff. Now Korsakoff is currently playing his KV-3, which is in my opinion an absolute shit turd of a tank. I absolutely hate it with a passion, and I happen to know that Korsakoff agrees with me in this analysis. Now, that being said, Korsakoff is going to have a very nice match here today. As you no doubt saw in the description. I however also know that after he got this very nice match, he had enough experience to get himself a KV-4, and he saw no reason to keep the KV-3 around anymore. So yeah, this is actually the last game ever played by Korsakoff in his KV-3, so let's go and cherish this moment, shall we? As he makes his way up slowly but steadily towards what I would say is the heavy corner of this this map, which would be about the 9 line, I would say. Now if you're slightly more mobile heavy, there's an argument to be made to stick a bit in the middle, but the KV-3 is definitely not a mobile machine, so yeah, Korsakoff is very wisely deciding to make his way to the 9 line, where his frontal armor will work and stuff like this. I personally also have the KV-3, and I really don't like the tank, as I just mentioned. It's really slow, supposedly it's well armored, but in practice it doesn't really perform. The gun is mediocre at best. Yeah, it's just in general a bad tank. It's slow, not well enough armored, its gun is not very good, which basically leaves it being a bad tank. I'm not really sure why. I mean, the KV-4, which comes after this, recently actually got a buff to its rate of fire, but the KV-4 armor actually performs rather well. The armor of the KV-4 is nice, so it holds up punishment. Rather the KV-3, this is not really the case. So I'm a bit confused why they buffed the KV-4 and not the KV-3, because the KV-3 kinda needs to buff more. Now Korsakoff has very casually put his second shot in here today, and he's doing the heavy tank thing. He's driving forwards, taking the hits for the team, and apparently making rather well use of his armor. There's an SU-100 who apparently is sick of living. He gets very lucky as his gun most likely ate that shot. So yeah, no shooting for the SU-100, but again also no kill for Korsakoff, so that's a bit sad. And this sneaky bugger of a SU-100 is able to put a shot into Korsakoff. Now this KV-1S and or this M6 or the KV-1S, what was it? The KV-1S just finds out that this gun has a rather meaty amount of alpha damage. That was a very low roll on the M6, but all in all these tier 5 heavy tanks are no match for the gun of Korsakoff, and tier 5 tanks have really no hope of penetrating this tank from the front. And again Korsakoff gets unlucky and hits a module instead of actually doing any damage himself. Now even though he has been doing rather well on this flank and has been able to do a fair bit of damage, the rest of the team has not been doing so well. So Korsakoff is continuing to push, hoping to catch the enemies in the rear and catch them off guard. And so take a few tanks out of the game before it can become an issue, before they notice he's here. Unfortunately we've now reached that point. This SU-100Y is actually a very high penetration gun. But as you just saw, he bounced that shot rather easily. The one piece of the KV-3 which is actually rather nice is the turret. Unfortunately the gun mantlet, there's a fairly large part of the gun mantlet which has, well, pretty much a hole behind it. So yeah, sadness all around. Your turret armor is your best armor, but there's a giant hole in the armor, so if you know where to shoot you can actually pen this tank frontally through the turret mantlet, which is kinda sad. Now that was his second kill, but also over 2000 damage already, but that being said, his team is still losing. Korsakoff takes a shot here. I think he has a rather good chance that actually penetrated the IS. No idea how much damage he did, but let's for a moment assume that it was a rather meaty amount. Now this type has absolutely no hope in hell of penetrating Korsakoff. As I say that, he of course gets penned by the KV or the Type 64. And with a little bit of help, the Type 64 will get killed by the allied Type 64, which is apparently also what's happening. Korsakoff unfortunately got hit as well by a rather meaty shell. Not really sure what did all the damage, but the announcer took his time to explain what was broken on his tank, which is usually a signal that you got hit pretty badly. And again, a tank was taken out. This time the OI experimental gets killed. Korsakoff decides to head back to the cap, try and win the match for his team. I know him as a player and he always goes for the win. It's never about the damage for him, he always goes for the win. And now he can actually see the tanks which are in the spotting circle, the cap circles. They're in the spotting circle of the Type 64, which is currently providing Korsakoff with some very nice spots to use. Fortunately that KV-3 on the enemy team is in a hull down position behind a rock, so there's no hope for Korsakoff to actually hit him from this angle. So he now needs to make a decision. Do I go down and try and make my way there and hope that this KV-3 doesn't move forwards, or do I stay here and hope that the KV-3 does move forwards? Now I agree with Korsakoff's decision here to try and make his way towards the towards this KV-3 in the cap circle here. Now meantime, even though Korsakoff has been able to do a grand total of 2,500 damage, more even, and get 3 kills, his team is still losing. Which is very unfortunate, because I kind of feel like Korsakoff deserves his win here. Korsakoff decides to load an APCR shell, which considering the circumstances I can't really blame him. This Type 64 decides to throw his life away at this KV-3, which is of course very unfortunate as well. Korsakoff makes his way forwards, tries to find an angle from which to hit this KV-3 and hits his side armor. That's very unfortunate. Luckily the enemy KV-3 is having just about as much luck penning him as he was had luck penning the KV-3, and luckily that shot did actually go in. Unfortunately I do think he's going to take a hit here. Not really much he can do about it. Gets another hit on this KV-3, a little bit of a low roll. The other shot was also a low roll. 350 is not a lot of damage for this tank. As you can see, 390 would be roughly the average, so got a bit unlucky with the rolls there. 2 high rolls would have been enough to kill that tank. Now, 3,600 damage took out the KV-3, and he is the last alive versus... Well, it was 4, but now it's versus 3. This enemy IS, that's actually the IS he hit earlier, and was on very low health indeed. So it's very nice that he's able to kill this IS off. Now there's 2 enemy tanks left. The T-43, I think that is. Hold on. Why does this view keep resetting? There we go. The T-43 and the Nashorn. They're both capable players, and they're both in very nice tanks. Now this T-43 is unfortunately on quite a bit of health, and he donks his shot. Okay, this is basically the end of the game for Korsakoff. This T-43 is going to make his way around, and he catches fires and unfortunately dies. Well, you tried, Korsakoff, you tried. In the post-battle results screen we can see that even though he lost this match, he still got his ace tanker, and it's probably well deserved given that this was a 10,000 WNA rating. He got a high caliber award and a defender award for that KV-3 he humiliated in the cap circle. And yeah, when we look at how much damage he did compared to the rest of his team, it's quite obvious why he got his ace tanker first and foremost, but also why he lost. He did so much more damage than the rest of his team. As a matter of fact, I'm going to check something real quick. Be back in a jiffy. Well, The rest of his team combined was able to do 4,588 damage. So Korsakoff came damn close to actually doing more damage than the rest of his team combined. So this was quite a Herculean effort by Korsakoff. He was also able to do, well, by far the most damage of the entire match, and he actually got more experience than any player on both teams, including the winning team, which is saying quite a lot, because this T-43 actually didn't have that bad of a match himself. I mean, tier 7 tank and 2400 damage, that's not bad. Now when we take a look at the stats, you can see that he fired 17 shots, of which 16 hit and 13 penetrated. 4000 damage he did himself. He was also able to block 1800 damage with his armor and received a grand total of 1400 damage himself, leaving a potential damage of over 3000. Now, that being said, he also did move 2 kilometers, which is, considering this was a this is a very slow heavy tank, this is actually quite a large amount of area he moved. And the amount of experience he got is also rather nice. 1800 experience, even with running a premium account on a loss, which is just very well played. So, Korsakoff, thank you for sending in this replay, and if you were watching this and you enjoyed it, please leave a like, and I'll see you for the next one.